Welcome back from the break, and now we're on to our government segment, and that would be you, Nick.
Government, that would be me.
It's you, it's
Yes,
all you.
Thank you.
Who do you have up?
My guest is Assemblyman Jim Tedisco of the 110th Assembly District. Jim is going to talk about state government in general, but he's got a proposal for paperless bill drafting and legislation, which is very interesting and could save the taxpayers a lot of money, and I think it's a pretty good idea.
Bringing us up to date in the world of technology.
That's right. So we're happy to have Jim Tedisco with us, our Assemblyman, and it was a great interview, I thought. Let's see what the people think.
I can't wait to watch it myself.
Okay, let's take a look at it. Welcome to Impact. I am Nick Barber, your host for the government segment. And today we have a special guest, Assemblyman Jim Tedisco from the 110th Assembly District. We're very happy to have Jim here. He's going to talk to us about topics that impact you and your community. Welcome, Jim.
Nick, it's so good to be with you, and thank you so much for hosting this show. I think it's important to give people the opportunity in the 110th, which is Schenectady and Saratoga counties, a little look at what their state government is doing, which always impacts them in some way.
And it impacts everyone throughout the state, you
Yes.
being, a New York State Assemblyman. So things that we're going to talk about apply to everyone, but particularly in the capital region. You're a busy guy. I've known you for years, and you've championed a lot of causes. What's up lately? What are you working on these days?
Well, what's important, I think, is we've taken a 90-degree turn at the state of New York. For a long time, we've had an altered reality in this state that we've always had a revenue problem. Well, we got a new governor now, and in working in conjunction with the New York State Legislature, he changed that reality to the real reality that sometimes you have a taxing and spending problem in your state. And what we did this year is illustrate that, because we eliminated a $10 billion deficit. We downsized government. We cut government by $3 billion. I think you see what's happening with some of our unions. Everybody's being asked to tighten up their belts right now, CSEA and PEF. And we actually balanced the budget and got it in on time on April 1st, not by increasing taxes and spending, but by reducing the size of government and doing more with less. And I think I've illustrated that because the governor reached out to us and said, give us some ideas. What can we do to save taxpayers money and be more efficient? And as you know, I sponsored a piece of legislation this year. According to our Constitution, we have to keep our legislation 3 days on top of our desk so we can read it at least, because we saw what happened with that stimulus. 1,000 pages, close to $1 billion, and in 1 year it was 9.5% unemployment. And that was something most legislators on the federal level didn't read. So we like to read our legislation. But unfortunately, it cost us millions upon billions of dollars over the years to print all those bills, the ink, the effect on our forest land and our environment, the waste elimination. And what I did is I sponsored the legislation, I debated it on the floor, and this year we got a piece of legislation passed to move into the 21st century and go digital. We're going to have a computer system on our desk. We're going to save $13 million in the first year when this passed of printing costs, $40 million close to in terms of waste elimination with our refuse, and then over the years, millions of dollars. So sometimes you feel good about the investment and the support you get from your constituents because it pays dividends for them. And if I never do another thing again for my constituents, which I hope I will, Nick, as you said, I'm always thinking,
yes.
But I was able, with overwhelming odds, to turn a lot of heads out there. We're outnumbered 2-1, as you know, in the minority, but they said this is a no-brainer. So it's a constitutional amendment. It's got to pass once again after the next election, and then we can begin to go digital, take all that paper off our desk, save all that money in printing and waste elimination. I'm very proud we got that done, and I think the governor's excited about that too. The next step is a piece I have for the rest of state government. The SUNY universities, the authorities, the agencies, they're all below the 21st century, printing a lot of stuff, a lot of reports they send out to us. We know we can do that digital now and save millions upon billions of dollars. So I'm excited about that. That was something we got done. And as I said, we're moving towards a more thrifty, efficient government, and that's good for all of us.
That is good. It's good legislation when most members agree. And you have a pretty good working relationship with the governor, do you? I mean, you're opposite parties, but he seems to be a governor that is really concerned about the issues. And after the election, he's pretty serious about his job. How's your relationship with the governor?
Well, I think our relationship is great. In fact, we had a breakfast. He brought in my conference and all of us. And at the conference, he said at the end, because he's pushing some difficult responses to some difficult situations, instead of the knee-jerk reaction of more taxes, more spending, tightening up government, being more efficient in a whole variety of ways. At the end, he said, now look, these things aren't going to be easy. But why don't you do what Assemblyman Jim Tedisco always does? Stand up, yell, speak out, make yourself heard. And I looked at him and said, yeah, Governor, it's ironic. I served with his father for the terms he was there.
Yes. And
now it's come full circle and I'm serving for him. Yeah. If I serve with one of his daughters, I know I might have been there too long. But I think I'm there at the right time.
Well, you are a proven fighter for the champion of the people, and that's great. Hurricane Irene and Tropical Storm Level Irene has impacted our area dramatically. And every day we're discovering worse and worse situations that we weren't unaware of, the cost, the devastation, displacement. Can you tell us a little bit about the current status of what the state is doing regarding storm relief and families and municipalities?
Yeah, well, this was a devastating storm for us in upstate. And the thing was, it kind of took us by surprise. All the concern was for New York City. Somehow it was going to go in and really hit directly. Well, it didn't hit directly in New York City. Nick, it hardly touched New York City. It hit upstate New York.
Hard.
It hit Rotterdam. It hit the Stockade. It hit Schoharie County. I mean, I was out there a couple weeks ago in Rotterdam Junction in 2 feet of mud and gook and water, taking out furnaces and boilers that were just destroyed, and putting up sheetrock and tearing down walls. And we learned something about this. Flooding in water is a lot like a tornado. When a tornado comes through, you could see 2 houses completely destroyed. Then you could see 4 or 5 in a row, they weren't even touched. Then 2 more were destroyed. Ironically, the same thing was happening with this flooding. If you were down below at a certain level, when I'm out there in Rotterdam Junction, I'm seeing 2 or 3 houses had 14 or 15 feet of water in there. Then 3 or 4 in a row didn't get any water in their cellar whatsoever. So it really was a disaster for a lot of people. But the neighbors pulled together, as we do in Schenectady County and in New York State. But again, we've got to be problem solvers. We've got to be imaginative. So I've asked the governor to do 3 things for us that I think are going to help that holistic approach. We need the FEMA federal money. We need some help from the state of New York. But I've also asked the governor to not let this tragedy go by and create another tragedy by not using it as a learning lesson. Were we prepared enough? What did we do better? What can we do better to prepare for a storm like this if it happens again? What can we do better in response to this storm? And what can we do after the storm to help these people get back to their normalcy? So I've asked him for that full report because, as you know, we found out we had a task force after that Schoharie tragedy where the individuals actually died on a bridge that failed.
Yes.
They were supposed to meet, and for 6 years they never met. Ghost Ship Commission. We can't allow that to happen. We have to use this as a learning lesson. So we need that report, but I also think we can't have a windfall on taxpayers' backs because of this storm. So if I've asked the governor, I've got the support and the sponsorship of Senator Hugh Farley in the Senate on a bill, and many of my co-sponsors are Democrats and Republicans in the Assembly, to eliminate the sales tax for essentials for these individuals who were hit so dastardly by this storm.
You mean clothing?
Sub pumps, furnaces, clothing, furniture, storage, moving. All those costs would have never taken place if they didn't get hit by this terrible storm Irene and then Lee after that. That's a windfall for the state, and it's a windfall for local counties in terms of sales tax. I want that eliminated, and I've got several sponsors in the Assembly and the Senate. Leave that money in those who were hit by the storm in their pockets. Now, they'd have to have the receipts. They'd have to have it certified by their insurance, but it would be on their 2011, 2012's a credit. They could take that right off. If you paid $2,000, I got a guy that called me up from Niskayuna. A lot of people don't think Niskayuna was hit. This guy was hit heavily. $1,500 in sales tax cost already. And the other point we just made, we asked the governor, we can give first-time home buyer designation to individuals who lost their entire homes. They don't have that now because they had a home. The tragedy is they may owe $200,000, $250,000 on a mortgage, but don't have any home that exists. If they don't have first-time homebuyer designation, BNI, which has 4 homes available, special Sonny Mae programs, we have 5 or 6 different programs which provide subsidies, closing costs, assistance for new first-time home buyers. I'd like the governor, I sent him a letter. He was the Secretary of HUD, as you know, under Clinton.
Yes.
And I sent a letter to the President. They work together. Give these individuals who lost everything first-time home buyer status so they can rebuild and get back into homes. So we've worked in those 3 areas, I think, in a very imaginative approach as a holistic way to help them get back on their feet.
Well, that's a creative idea. Do you have support for that now, the first-time home buyers? Are you
Yes.
Just floating it out there now?
It was, the letter was signed by myself and Assemblyman McLaughlin from Rensselaer, and we have several other members who have called up and want to help and support that and get the governor, and if we can give that designation. If not, we may have to come back legislatively in the Congress. We've asked Congressman Gibson to take a look at that, and our other congressmen to take a look at that, because some of that designation has to come from the federal government, because there's Sony May programs which are controlled by the federal government, and some are by the state government. So I like to reach out to both sides of the aisle. Good ideas, Nick, as you know, because you were a legislator one time, doesn't come from Republicans, doesn't come from Democrats necessarily. It comes collectively from a lot of people. And you have to embrace the good ideas that help your constituents, and you have to fight against some things that don't make sense. And you have to fight for your own ideas. You know, it's the character, content, and quality of ideas. It's communicating those ideas to your fellow colleagues. And most importantly, it's harnessing the voices of the most important individuals in this representative democracy. And you and I know who those are. Those are the voters, the citizens. And then the last thing is you have to try to get a full airing by the media, and that's why I'm here with you.
Well, we appreciate you being here very much, Jim. Jim, how long have you been in the New York State Legislature? Give us a little of your background.
Believe it or not, because I started when I was 10 years old.
Yeah, you must have.
This is my 15th year.
15th year?
Well, 15th term, excuse me. 2-year terms. So I'll be going on 30 years anniversary in 2012. Well, and I'll tell you, every day I wake up, Nick, and this is the truth, I'm excited, I'm inspired. It feels like the first day after I got elected. And I've often told people, when it doesn't feel like the first day, that's when I know it's time to leave.
Well, you keep that energy level up, Jim.
I will, Nick.
Assemblyman Jim Tedisco, 110th Assembly District. Thank you so much for joining us today on Impact, and we hope that you come back again and we'll give you frequent flyer miles. Maybe you'll come back and visit us again to tell us more about what's going on in state government.
When there's ever anything important, I'll be back to you, and we can show them the impact from their state government.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jim.
Thanks, Nick.